So, Casey, thank you for joining me. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
For the audience, Casey is one of our head VAs. She runs the processor training and enablement team. So, anytime that a broker VA has questions about processing wholesale portals, especially wholesale portals like UWM, so we're talking ultimate loan submission, early CD, how to do those things and how to do those things correctly, how to ask for conditions correctly. That's Casey's job. I've known her for a long time now and am very honored to call her a part of our team. Casey, the place that I've started in these interviews that's been pretty fun, and I don't know the answer to this question is, what did you go to school for initially?
Back in college, I studied business administration and financial management. So
Gotcha.
that was back in 2011 to 2014.
Gotcha. What did you think you were going to do with that degree? Did you have any idea?
I did want to be a part of in the bank system, like the teller or some inside the bank.
Mm. And was this at that time? Did you think it would be U.S. banks, or did you think it would actually be a local bank in the Philippines?
Just the local bank in the Philippines. I was part of it like a few months before coming into BPOs or being a loan processor, but it was not it was not really the lifestyle is not uh, how I picture it out.
And why is that? What about it? What about it surprised you, or you didn't like?
Well, for starter, the compensation was not as great as I expect them to be. It's just that it was whenever I go inside the bank, it's just that the tellers are very presentable and everything,
Sure.
and I thought that there were a lot of benefits, and the compensation is great because you can see how they present themselves, but um, in reality, it's just that it's not able to cover everything.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. So when you walk into a bank, same here in the U.S., you walk into a bank and you see them. They're so well dressed, they're
Yep.
so well spoken, and you think to yourself, "Man, they must make a lot of money because
Yep.
how could they possibly make less money than people that work from home in their pajamas?" But
Yep.
then you come to find out that it's a little. So then, so you graduate. You actually started working for a bank. Were you a teller for a period?
Yes.
Gotcha.
The front tellers. Yep.
And then how did you get into that position, into the BPO world, which for the audience watching, BPO is business process outsourcing. So for a lot of companies, BPO is the term used for outsourced services. And those could be anything from a range of financial services or insurance companies, or in this case, US mortgage. So, Casey, I'm curious, how did you eventually get with a BPO company?
I actually I actually started in the back end office for a U.S. mortgage right after college. Like after a month, I did apply, and then it was for claims department for annuities for U.S. clients, and then I think it was about a year and a half, and then that bank job was opening, so I did apply for it because I really wanted to be a part of that field.
Hmm.
But then right after that, I think when realization hit, I I went back to being a processor, but it was for a Australian client for financial planning.
Gotcha.
The field was superannuation, investments, and insurances.
Okay.
And then a relative of mine was an employee for a U.S. mortgage, and then he did ask me that, or he did um, referred me to that company.
Gotcha. All right. So they were looking for a loan. What was the name of that company?
It was Easy Fundings.
Easy Fund. Were they a broker? Were they a direct lender?
Um, I think initially they started brokering out files.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And you got the job, obviously.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, very, very cool. So you got referred from the family member, you got the job. What was the initial position? You say processing, but what did processing mean for them?
Well, actually, I think it was not really labeled before back in 2017, but then I identify it now as a loan setup. So I was actually requesting documentation from the borrowers, cross matching it with the information filled out uh, in the 1003, and
Gotcha.
then we did we did ask for the fee sheet at first because
Hmm.
they don't actually disclose the initial disclosure, they don't send it out without the fees because they want the loan estimate to be as accurate as much as possible.
Hmm. Yeah, that's right. Okay, all right. And then obviously, that's a big shift in knowledge. So it sounds like you were BPO with annuities, then you were banking actually as a bank teller, then you were doing stuff with this Australian company, and now all of a sudden you finally move into processing where you're learning stuff about DTI and LTV and asset and income documentation and credit, all this kind of stuff. What was that experience like trying to learn? Did they have a formal training for you, or how did you ramp up?
Well, it was a difficult one. It was not a thorough process, to be honest. Um, it was an office space, so basically you have like a senior worker there that could help you. So
Hmm.
basically, whenever I finish reviewing the file, she gives me notes on
Hmm.
how I can improve on the things on the process.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. So you were just basically shadowing. There was no formal training. It was just you.
Yep,
You learned from her in real time on the job.
yep,
Which is interesting because we do that a little bit here at Broker VA. We put them through an intensive, and then ultimately you shadow them kind of when they're actually working, which we're going to get into later. I don't want to do that yet. So, all right. So you learn on the job. You must have been pretty smart to pick that up because not everybody succeeds in that type of environment. How long were you with Easy Fundings for?
I think it was 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Okay. And were you sending loans to wholesale lenders?
Yes.
Gotcha. All right. So when we met, by then you already knew a heck of a lot about wholesale lender portals. I would tell you it's rare to, and this is very, very honest for the people watching. I'm not just saying this. It's very rare to find somebody that's as deep on brokered wholesale experience already as Casey was when we met, and that was because so you were going to UWMs, you were going to Home Points, you were going to these common lenders in that experience. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I think most common lenders before was Flagstar,
Yep.
UWM. I think
Yep.
that's the major two lenders that we went to.
Gotcha. Okay. And did you start at any point in time processing end to end? Were you taking it through conditional approval and CD and all these other things, or were you still just on the front end for most of your experience?
Um, I think I transitioned from doing initial disclosures 1 year, and then after that, um, I did submissions.
Mhm.
So, and then I think the latter part of the job, what that's when I did approval conditions. So it was just for not end to end, but it was submissions to loan approval.
All right, so Casey, you're with Easy Fundings for 4 or 5 years, getting excellent experience in brokered loans. Thank God. We're I'm very, very grateful for the training. I remember I approached you and I said, "Hey, I need somebody who can help people migrate from banking and direct lending to broker." And for the audience, one of the things that this is true. One of the things that we talk about is that the broker market is growing. If you look at it from 2016 to 2022, which is the last time I have the statistic, it's now about a year old, but we grew from 16% of the market to almost 25% of the market, and we're continuing to grow. So as direct lenders are shrinking, the broker market is growing. I have people that are at banks and direct lenders that are leaving, they're becoming brokers. And then guess what? Those brokers are looking for support. They're looking for LOAs, they're looking for processors. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of the support staff in the Philippines are bank and direct lender support staff. And so I realized early on, hey, I need somebody who can translate them from direct lender bank into broker. And what that meant a lot is wholesale portals. So I think I came to you and said, hey, do you mind being the trainer? And do you mind taking on, which I think in the beginning, weren't you part time with the client and then part time trainer? Is that how we did it?
Yep, it was.
Gotcha. So talk about that. Tell the audience what it was like. We got you with a client. Tell us what you were doing for that client and then how you were also training on your as a side project.
So basically, working from start to end with the client, working on doing the initial disclosures, submitting the file, getting it approved, and working on the approval conditions to get the file CTC'd and basically prepped it for funding.
I'm curious, what are the most common questions you get from broker VAs that need help in the beginning when they first get paired with a client?
Um, I think if they for broker VAs that are not very familiar with the lender portals, it's how to register a file, how they do about importing, exporting the 3.2, 3.4 of the file and getting that into the lender portal.
Mhm.
And I think the most basic challenges are getting approval eligible in DU findings.
Gotcha. All right. So people, it's that initial registration and then getting that AUS approval when it's first uploaded to the lender portal.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, some lenders make that very, very difficult. Very, very difficult indeed. What are your favorite lenders? I'm curious. Right now, what are you seeing out there as the easiest to actually
Um,
get it from a processing perspective to get it done?
I actually like Rocket Mortgage before, but
Mhm,
right now it's just that UWM keeps updating their system,
mm,
and they've been like how fast a loan can get approved and how fast the loan can get the CD out.
mhm,
Basically, they do have like a lot superior website
mhm,
and process.
mhm, mhm. That's right. Are you tell the audience with UWM, you do train on the early CD and ultimate loan submission, yeah?
Yes, that's right. So basically, we specified a lot of conditions for the borrower so that they can understand it at the first read in the emails.
Mhm. And that's called the conditions guideline for those of you that don't know. Conditions guideline is a spreadsheet, and it's got all the conditions that we could think of: income, asset, credit, property conditions, LOE conditions, miscellaneous conditions. And it's got how the underwriter usually words it, but then how we need to prepare for it, how we need to write it, and how we need to review it. So with something as simple as sourcing EMD, we're going to take a condition that's written, hey, please send cancel check or wire for EMD. Well, the borrower has a lot to do. We got to figure out if it's a check or if it's a wire. If it's a wire, we need to look at when was our last bank statement. Is that wire going to be on a bank statement, or are we going to need a transaction history? Well, if we need a transaction history, how do we go and get that transaction history? Well, we got to go into the bank account, we got to print it, and it's got to be transactions through the last day of the last bank statement. And so something as simple as that little condition, if you word it incorrectly, then you're going to go around in circles and you're going to make the loan officer frustrated. And that's a processor function, is knowing how to reword conditions. So one of the things that Casey does is they come to her with some conditions that they might not know how to request. She'll either reference the conditions guideline or she'll help walk them through that. And that way we've got clean sets of conditions. Casey, I'm curious, how do you think most people do if they didn't have the conditions guideline and they didn't have you as a trainer? How do you think they'd actually do on conditions? I feel like that's a place that a lot of people need some help.
I think most of them they reference the underwriting's approval condition and they just copy paste it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we are trying to avoid that because
Mm-hmm.
not not every borrower understand all of the mortgage terms. So
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to avoid that, and so that we can avoid going back and forth in requesting them.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I think so. Okay, so far we've covered a lot of people need help with registration and getting AUS approval. A lot of people need help with conditions. Is there another area that you see a lot that you help with?
Uh, Pricing, selecting products and pricing
Mhm,
through different portals, and then uh, completing the estimate or the loan estimate in the fee sheet.
mhm,
So basically, that's very common because a lot of VAs are trying to figure out because given that there are a lot of lenders out there and their systems are not are not very similar, or at least there are some lenders have similar portals, but uh, their 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 process on putting in broker compensations, um, title and escrow fees are different. So
mhm,
a lot of VAs tries to complete that, but are having trouble. So I come in and
mhm.
just try and shadow them and how they complete it, and just make corrections if they are necessary.
So, Casey, one of the things that I wanted to bring up is you are creating basically a training 2.0. So, as we've been growing, we're starting to get more candidates that have a little less experience when it comes to brokered portals, and so we're really trying to create a more robust training program. You're heading that up. Please tell us about that.
Yep. So basically, I'm trying to create a process where the VAs can figure out how to structure the file, or how to structure the file after it has been registered and after the VA matched the information from the lender portal, the 1003 from the lender portal against the LOS. So we have a few lenders that we can register a sample file that the VAs can go to, so that they'll be able to figure out what are the missing process and have that submitted to underwriting.
That's a wrap. Casey, thank you so much for your time. Cannot wait to get that training done and get cooking on this thing. And you've just been a pleasure to have on the team. I'm grateful for you. And thanks for your time on this interview.
Thank you, Joel. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Mhm.